I'm currently in Florida, and it's time for the annual pilgrimage to Skycraft Surplus. There are relatively few retail electronic surplus businesses left in the United States, and the only one I'm aware of that's in the eastern U.S. is Skycraft Surplus in Winter Park, Florida, just outside Orlando. If you're in the Orlando area, I highly recommend visiting. It's an amazing place. This video will have two parts. First, I'll show you a few of the things I found inside the store. Second, I'll unbox the things I bought. Let's get started. Here is the view from outside. The building is easily recognizable from the flying saucer above the front door. The store is just insanely packed with all kinds of electronic parts, hardware, and equipment. Let me show you a few of the interesting things I saw inside. Skycraft is a great place to find hardware. Here is a huge assortment of nylon screws, nuts, washers, and spacers. Here is a huge assortment of 440 screws and nuts. These are very high quality, not the low quality junk you see on eBay and Amazon. One corner of the store has bins with a huge variety of vintage ICs. If you dig, you can find some interesting microcomputer chips such as Motorola 6800 series and Hitachi 6300 series ICs. There is also an impressive selection of logic ICs. There are quite a few 74HC and 74LS parts, as well as more obscure families such as 74C and 74S. Sadly, there are very few 74HCT series parts. This section also has an impressive selection of 5400 series mil-spec logic ICs. There is no functional difference between these chips and their 7400 series counterparts, but they are spec'd for a wider range of temperatures. Here are some 6350 UARTs. Sadly, they are not the A or B speed grade, so are limited to 1 MHz bus speed. Here is a cabinet of IC sockets, including the higher quality machined pin sockets. You can bet I will be picking up some of these. Some of the 28-pin sockets had integrated power supply decoupling capacitors, which is a clever idea. These 40-pin sockets also appear to have integrated decoupling capacitors. Also, I kind of dig the white color. These 48-pin sockets are perfect for the Motorola 68008 CPU, which I plan to use in a future project. Here's a cabinet of 440 standoffs and spacers. I will definitely be stocking up on some of these. Here are some high-quality round 440 standoffs. Here are even more 440 and 632 standoffs and spacers. Skycraft is the best place I know to find this kind of hardware. And here is an absolute motherlode of 440 and 632 standoffs. I've standardized on 440 standoffs for most situations where I am mounting a PCB, so I will be bringing some of these home for sure. These cabinets have pretty much any crimp connector you could possibly want. I'm running low on ring and fork terminals, so I will be grabbing some of each. I appreciate robust connections, so these kinds of connectors are worth having on hand. Here are some ring terminals suitable for 18 to 22 gauge wire. These are very useful for connections to terminal strips. And here are some fork terminals also suitable for 18 to 22 gauge wire. These are also useful for connections to terminal strips. Here are an assortment of wall Wart switching power supplies. These can be very useful for powering projects and equipment. There were a pretty good assortment here, especially 12-volt supplies. There was an interesting assortment of 7-segment LED displays. I'm a sucker for these, so I couldn't resist picking up a few of them. These shelves had an impressive selection of enclosures, including quite a few that were obviously salvaged from equipment. I was very tempted to pick up a few of these, especially some really nice powder-coated metal enclosures that were only $2.50. However, we're on a family vacation traveling by car, and we don't have spare room for bulky items. Finally, a hoagie from Wawa is the perfect way to cap a productive morning of surplus shopping. Alright, so here's the stuff that I bought, and basically the way it works is that they give you these little paper bags, and you write down what you've put in them, how much they cost, and then they ring you up when you're done. So let's see what's in this first bag. Alright, so this is clearly IC sockets, so let's take a look. Alright. Alright, I have 40-pin sockets, 28-pin sockets, 48-pin sockets, 16-pin, 20-pin, and one 18-pin that apparently I picked up by accident. Alright, I want to check the capacitors on these and see what value they are. Alright, so I got the multimeter out. Let's take a look. So it's reading about 84.5 nanofarads, so that's pretty close to 100, so that's about right for a power supply decoupling capacitor, so that's pretty cool. Alright, so here's the next bag. Looks like there's some dip switches, 440 hardware, and a couple ICs, so here we go. Okay, wow, that's a lot of stuff. Alright, see what this is. So what we have here is a few Gray Hill dip switches. I really like these for providing digital inputs to a test circuit. I also did get a couple of the HD 6350 UARTs. I'm not actually running my 6809 system at a high clock speed, so I think these will work fine. Then I have some nice 440 hardware, a couple different kinds of screws, a whole bunch of nuts and some washers and some small spacers. And I got some 440 screws the last time I was at Skycraft, and they're really nice, so it was nice to pick up some more. All right, so this bag looks like standoffs, so I'm kind of a standoff nerd, so this is very exciting. All right, let's see what we have here. All right, so what we have here is a bunch of 440 nylon washers, and then a whole bunch of female to female 440 standoffs. So I have some 1/4 inch hex, 3/8 inch hex, 3/8 inch round, 7/8 hex, and 1 inch hex. So this should keep me well supplied with standoffs for a good long time. All right, here's our last bag. Looks like crimp connectors, trim pots, and LED displays. So let's see what we have here. All right, so what we have is some orange LED displays, a green LED display, a couple of 5K trim pots, and then some ring and fork crimp connectors. So let's talk about each one of these. All right, so these orange LED displays are MAN 4610A. I think I have some of these. These are the common anode type. I've actually used these quite a bit, and I really like them. I'm really kind of a sucker for these old LED displays. This one is also common anode. It is an HDSP F501. You may recall that I used this in a recent hex display project. So I just love LED displays. I don't need these, but I just like them. So I got a couple of these 5K trim pots. They are the multiple turn precision type. They are actually Bournes, and they are also the kind that adjust from the top. I really dislike the ones that adjust from the side, so these are definitely useful to have. And then of course we have the crimp connectors. These are exactly the kind I like. They're for 18 to 22 gauge wire. I like both the ring ones and the fork ones, and I was running low, so I'll definitely have a use for these. All right, so in conclusion, Skycraft Surplus is a really cool place, and I would highly recommend that you check them out if you have the opportunity. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.